No, I'm calling Denise Roach.
Yeah.
Denise Roach.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councils are basically in the business of planning for the future, planning for their populations, and the development contributions policy that a council has is a crucial part of that planning. The idea is that development contributions through a levy on developers who are extending housing opportunities across territorial authorities, that they will pay towards the infrastructure, the new infrastructure that's needed to create communities and create the housing. So what that development contributions do is that it creates the assets that communities need to make a community. And those assets include things like libraries, like swimming pools, like recreation facilities and sports fields. And we have grave concern that this legislation sets out restrictions around that. The next 10 years in Auckland, Auckland Council estimates that there will be 270,000 extra people in Auckland, and the council needs to be planning for them. The council also expects to take around about $2.1 billion in development fees. Now, the development contribution policy that Auckland Council has in place at the moment has taken years to get to it. We had to standardise across 8 previous legacy councils, which all had different development contribution policies. And so it's taken years of negotiation to find a pathway that met both the developers' needs and the greater Auckland Council needs as well. But we have achieved that in Auckland, because in Auckland there is a vision that the council has, which is to create the world's most livable city. And we can't do that unless we have participation from those who are developing the housing as well. And that includes the development contribution fees. We've heard from previous speakers that what it would cost home buyers, and it's without doubt that the cost of the development contributions are passed on to those who buy the houses that are developed. But the cost of that is on average about $750 per house, which in the scale of things is not that much. But when you consider that if you remove development contribution fees in Auckland, the ratepayers will have to bear the cost of the infrastructure that needs to be put in place in order for those houses to be created in the first place. And it's not fair on ratepayers to have to pay for that when the new ratepayers should play their part as well. Without development contributions in Auckland, the cost of that to ratepayers would be about 8.5%, an increase of 8.5% on the rates. Now, at the moment, Auckland Council is still trying to standardise rates across the 8 previous legacy council areas. And what that means is that in some areas, rates increases at the moment are around 10%. That's incredibly difficult for people in the community where I live, Waiheke Island, who are on fixed incomes, facing rate increases of around about 6% and upwards at the moment. So if we were to take development contributions away from councils and look at an 8.5% increase on top of that, we're getting into a situation where it will become unaffordable for people to own their own homes or stay in their own homes in the areas where they want to live. I have to say that this government is probably the first to criticise councils for rates increases, and rates increases and the cost of rates has been used time and time again in this House and previous legislation as a way of taking away some of the roles that councils play. And I think it would be irresponsible of this government to put in place legislation that increases the cost to councillors, which they then have to pass on to ratepayers. In this legislation, There is also the costs around the fact that developers can oppose the contributions policy that the councillors... Mr Chair, Mr Chair, Mr Chair,
I'm going
Mr
to
Chair.
hear from Andrew Williams.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I take a call on behalf of New Zealand First and the Local Government Act 2000.